You're tuning into the Journey to Your Best Self podcast, where we explore the past holistic well-being, personal growth, and living a fulfilling life. Each episode, we bring you insightful conversations, practical tools, and inspiring stories to help you integrate your mind, body, and spirit on your journey to becoming your best self. Let's dive in and embark on this journey together.
And welcome back to the Journey to Your Best Self podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian O'Neill, joined by my sister, clinical hypnotherapist, certified life coach, and yoga instructor, Tara. Today we'll be with an incredible guest. Got a lot to offer the audience, those listening and viewing in. He has a great personal story of transformation and self-discovery that's going to inspire and motivate everyone listening to take some bold steps and live more authentically. He's got an amazing program that he's going to tell us a lot about. He's reaching out to a lot of people that often have been overlooked in this space, and that's none other than Aaron James Yeager, performance coach and hypnotherapist. He specializes in helping high achievers break free of stress, burnout, and emotional barriers. Through his blend of ancient wisdom and modern science, guides clients towards emotional mastery and peak performance, both in business and life. So we're very excited to, again, dive into his journey, find some actionable advice for our audience, and hopefully he can share how he's achieved emotional mastery and sustainable success, and then pass that on to you guys out there. So Aaron, welcome aboard.
Hey, thank you both for having me. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely fun, and we're excited to learn a lot from you. We had talked briefly before hitting record, and about you were pretty candid about some turning points and hitting some kind of vectors of change that where you made a lot of growth and progress in your life. Was there something that led you towards this that had happened? Was there a guide? Was there, a guru that kind of got you on this journey? Or is it just always been within you that I have to help people, I have to help them achieve, I have to help, them find some purpose and give balance to their lives? How did that all start for you?
Great question. Yeah, there has been. I'll kind of answer that in a few different ways. The first one is, as of recently of this recording, like early December, maybe 6-7 months ago, just started feeling a really big shift in my life. So I'm 43 right now, and absolutely loving life, loving what I do, feel fulfilled in many, many ways. And at the same time, we as human beings go through certain cycles depending on our age and where we're at in life. And for me, I had been going through life for many, many years as AJ Yeager, my nickname that my mom gave me a long time ago, if I didn't like Aaron James. And so I was actually at a music festival / like kind of mastermind type thing, where we're learning and growing and also having a great time and like kind of shaking things off from 2023. And I had gone through a lot of different experiences in my life, one of which in my relationship, there was a lot of different dynamics that were going on and business partners, things like that. It was just like, sometimes it needs a closing, but it was very clear to me that as I'm doing the work, I really believe it's good. It's a positive thing for being good messengers. Like I want to be a good messenger for the messages I'm giving my clients. So I better be doing the work. I better be living my message as opposed to just telling people in theory what to go do. So with that being said, I have two other friends that are named Aaron, and we were hanging out at the same spot. And these people, our friends, started calling us the three Aarons, and it just started like ringing true for me again. So I was like, When I got back, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be Aaron again. And it's not like going backwards. It's more of like I'm stepping into a new one, and AJ is dying. I say dying because it's a letting go of that part. So I then looked up and I used a little chat GPT. Instead of just doing a bunch of Google searches, I was like, okay, Aaron, James, and Yeager. My last name is Yeager, a very German name. I wanted to know what they're about. I had a friend ask me, have you ever looked up the meaning of your name, Aaron? I was like, actually, no, I have not. So once I did, I was phenomenally like surprised by what it said. And I had chat GPT, hey, I'm 43 years old. Here's where I'm at in my life. Taking these data points into consideration, what would your recommendation be on how I can live a better life, be a better person, be a better everything in my life? And it gave me some steps that I'm, not that I'm taking AI's full advice and just doing those things, but saying, okay, how do I implement that and help paint a better vivid picture for the universe on who I want to become? So that's been a very fun process for me. So that's the first kind of answer. I'll stop there for now.
Yeah. So what did it mean in a few basic words or phrases, if you want to share what Aaron meant.
Yeah, well, Aaron was a very Egyptian name, like Egyptian in Hebrew, and it was like mountain of strength. Not a mediator, more of this phase of life for me is more about being a mentor figure, a coach figure, helping collectively, hold people and move our consciousness up. So Aaron was like wealth and riches, but like more so about a higher level of expansion and ascendancy and being a leader. James comes from another character in the Bible, Jacob, from Jacob. It was a derivative of Jacob, and I don't remember that one. I've got him on my phone, but I'm not going to grab that for right now. And then Yager was like hunter and ranger, a explorer, a finder, a provider, not just provider like money in terms of, but like also protection and like guidance, being able to find what I need to, being resourceful. So all of those kind of combined gave me this really cool, like I got kind of tingles. I was like, oh, all right, I'm going to work this into my goals, into my attitudes, how I'm showing up. And as a hypnotherapist, I get to recode myself as well, not only my clients. So I'm creating my own recoding hypnotherapy sessions I'm listening to every single day to rebuild who I am and rebuild that into my subconscious.
Yeah, I love that. Obviously, we share a love for the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, and reprogramming. Can you share, in your words, how would you describe the subconscious mind, right? So I know a lot of people have misconceptions. You might have to do this every time you have a new client, but just for the record, can you say it in a different way than I might say it? Because it's so worth it, right? It's worth repeating over and over.
It is worth repeating over and over. Oh, man, we're just not taught this stuff in school, right? We're not taught we're not giving an instruction manual on our conscious mind or unconscious mind, our heart, and how all of this is tied together. So the unconscious mind is I like to say it when one-on-one clients, first of all, if they don't really understand this, but they know that one, they're maybe setting goals and they're not hitting them, or they just keep trying to lose weight, but every 2 or 3 weeks in, they just don't know why they're not going somewhere. So I like to first say, hey, before we talk about what it is, here's how this kind of stuff works. The one thing I want people to understand and take away is, if your conscious mind, the goal chooser, which is about, let's say 10% of our capacity, that prefrontal cortex is choosing where we want to go. If we're in a hot air balloon and we want to go that way, these are our goals, this is the money I want, this is the stuff I want, that's the goal chooser, great. That's going to continue to go this way. But the unconscious mind, where it's 90% and or unlimited, because we don't know everything about the unconscious mind or how it works. If the conscious mind wants to go this way and the unconscious mind wants to go that way, or it's saying no, the unconscious mind is always going to win. So I start with the results, right? Why are you getting the results you're not wanting? It's because you have not understood the power of the unconscious mind and aligned it so that they're both going the same direction, so that it's path of least resistance. And the way I like to describe it is to keep it simple. Sometimes the scientific terms don't work. Hot air balloon. I ask people, have you ever been up in a hot air balloon? No, yes, doesn't matter. They start off in the morning, you get up in the morning, the van pulls everything out, they lay the balloon down, they get these big fans and they start to fill up a little bit of the air in there. And then they take the basket and they tie down the basket and they flip it over, and then they start using the propellant, the fire, to start to get the hot air to rise so it comes up. It's all ready to go. People are ready to go. They jump in and they start pulling the fire. We're like, okay, let's go this way. These are our goals, our dreams. Let's go. We're excited. But what did they forget to do? They forgot to undo the tethers to the ground. They forgot to undo the tethers, the strings, the ropes, whatever. So the journey is then, hey, we've got to let go of some of the past programming, the past systems, the stories, all the stuff, all the stories that have been running our life underneath the ground. And if we don't let go of those ropes one at a time, then that trip is going to be the path of hardest resistance. Could you imagine a hot air balloon scraping against the ground? That's when if we're not dealing with the unconscious, that's what it's going to be like. So what we do instead is, one at a time, or in different modalities, we let go of these different threads, strings that are holding us back, limiting beliefs, old traumas, things like that are in the unconscious mind. We don't recode those. Or if we do recode those, then it's nice and free to float and the air takes it and it's a beautiful sailing. So that's one way to describe it. Hopefully that's answering your question without the whole scientific stuff.
Absolutely, I love it. I think metaphors are wonderful in hypnotherapy, as you know, and I think those visuals really help make something that can seem a little bit elusive, uh,
Yeah.
clear, right? And so, how do we go about recoding? How do we rewire? How do we reprogram? Uh, where do people start in a
Yeah.
where's step one? They listen to this and they're like, wow, I need this. What should they do?
Well, I like to have people really go within. First, to understand that I don't believe nobody's broken, that we don't need to be fixed. All the answers are inside. All that's in here. It's maybe covered up by a lot of noise, a lot of stuff that's in the way. But first and foremost, it's getting a little bit comfortable, closing your eyes and going within and really writing down the things, what's not working in your life, what continues to keep showing up, and literally be honest about creating the list of things, not what you want or what goals, like what's not working, what's a struggle, what's hard. Let's be real and honest with a snapshot picture of what's happening now. And you bring that list to someone like myself or you, and then we start to look at, well, okay, what are the emotions that are coming up? And most people are coming to me, they're top level entrepreneurs, men and women. It's generally going to be anxiety, depression, imposter syndrome, some things like those. Those are the feeling unworthy. Generally, they're making pretty good money, but the rest of their life may not be banging on all cylinders like they want it to be, and that's why they're generally coming to me. Or something has happened, some life event has happened, and they don't know how to handle it, and we need to go through grief. We also need to work with the unconscious mind there. So it's starting with what's not working. Okay, it's being okay with understanding and being honest with ourselves where we're at right now. And then the second is, hey, it's not us. It's not you. It's not a personality defect. You're not your anxiety. You're not these things. You're just feeling emotions. These are data points. So let's extract them and put them over here and be able to look at these as data points to help you understand the messages that are coming from your body, from the source, from universe, God, whatever you want to call it. And so we kind of start with a conversation of let's look at where you're at now. And so I love doing audits. I have certain ways of looking at the physical self, the intellectual self, the emotional self, and the spiritual self as an archetype of like, hey, let's see what's going on under the hood. We've really got to teach people that this is like meditation with a goal. This is nothing magical. It can seem magical, but like we just want to start getting into a relaxed state then and get comfortable getting into a relaxed state. And that's generally where it helps to work with somebody like us, where we're like guiding them through something. And this is deeper than meditation, the way I see it. It's like meditation with a result that we're looking to achieve.
And I really love that you take into account the emotional aspect, the somatic aspect. When I first entered the hypnotherapy space, I didn't love that they segmented, like, okay, you're gonna stop, this habit, and then you'll stop this habit and you'll be fine in a session. And it's like, well, that didn't resonate with me, because it's just doing the similar reductionist model of treating the symptoms. So I really love how you get down into the whole self, right? You're really dealing with all of the layers, and that's really to me, it's the only way to actually heal and grow and unblock.
Agreed.
And one more question before I pass you over to Brian. Can you talk about, you so eloquently described this on one of your podcasts or on Instagram, how we're unblocking, like when our emotions are stuck, we can't move, like spirit can't move through us. Can you talk to how many of us are dormant, or maybe not dormant, but stuck because we haven't been taught how to move that energy?
Oh yeah. I love to use the example that Michael Singer talks about in Living Untethered. Yeah, Living Untethered, fantastic book. He talks about that there's a flow of Shakti, or energy, moving through our body. If we just imagine for right now, there's energy moving through us. And if it's like a river, if you look at a river, if you're zoomed up on top of the river and both sides there's land and rocks and everything, there usually a river is going to be flowing. You look at it, water's flowing. What happens to us from the moment we're born, and there can be stuff from that before that, but let's just start with when you're in the womb. Even the subconscious mind is already recording literally everything, taking all of it in from all your senses. Since it's recording all the time, all things, you can imagine that it starts to, like, rocks fall in, things, trees, all that, it starts to block. And so you can imagine that river then starts to get dammed, almost like beavers dam things up, right? once it starts to get dammed and that Shakti can't flow through, you've got a little trickle going through. That's your life force. That's your ability to manifest, to create, to have joy, to feel all these really, really positive emotions. And when that stuff gets stuck, that it gets caked together, muds up, and it's like, oh, that's why people feel like, I don't feel that energy, that flow, because it's completely stuck by energy and emotions. So sometimes with hypnotherapy and other modalities, when we're doing the mental work as well as the emotional work, it can be sometimes like taking a chisel and chiseling it away. Sometimes there's putting the dynamite in and you can explode the whole thing if you hit the root causes. So it just depends on the pathway. And in what we're doing, I find that the one-on-one private work has the most profound, fastest effect. But and coaching, group coaching also does. And I do these really epic events where I get people together and we kind of combine the conscious and the unconscious. So hopefully that helps you understand, like once we start removing the rocks and then the debris, then the water can start flowing again and we start feeling like our true authentic selves again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it made me think of children, right? Children are so fluid. They're just kind of frolicking around, right? And people are like, oh, well, we age and then things happen. It's like, no, like actually they're just, their life force energy hasn't been dampened down or clogged
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. And this is some of the best work we can do to help children. Basically, it's from like 0 to around 10-ish, right? They're generally in theta. So if we're talking beta, we're all talking in beta wave right now. Then there's alpha, theta, and delta. Delta is you're completely asleep, completely unconscious. Alpha and theta is where we want to be working a lot and being comfortable getting into. Kids are in theta. They're like a sponge. They're sucking it all in. And so the more we can teach kids how to work with emotions, how to let go of these feelings, and how to watch our language as parents. I'm not a parent yet, but like working with parents, and children can learn how to navigate that. That's some of the best stuff we can teach them, because then they don't stack up. Then they don't have to be 40 and 50 years old and have a whole bunch of work to do.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a gift for us to give them. And I love working. I have some teenagers I'm working with, which I love because I'm teaching them how to do this stuff now. It's so cool.
They're in hypnosis like that too.
They are so quick.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Yeah.
So a lot of times I hear about, getting back to kind of like the baseline, and people are really struggling. You said there's a traumatic experience. You said that, they're doing real well in the business world, but other aspects of their life they're struggling with. What about, as far as goals or end game or going beyond, like not just getting back to stasis, but maybe, getting to that point where you can, kind of get into those states, alpha, theta states. Can you remember a time when, or maybe an event or something that would happen in life where AJ would have really struggled with something, but now Aaron, because you're practicing what you preach, you can either accept it, deal with it, go with the flow, or the things that happen in life now that you're so much more ready for because of kind of where you've gotten?
Sure. Yeah, I can think of several different ones. I think one of my larger struggles, I'm very transparent about things, especially stuff that I'm either working through or have worked through. And be wary of anything that says, oh, I've healed that. I'm healed. Be very wary of that. We're healing. There's always layers to peel back. There's always things that we can be doing, and it depends what we're going through in our life. So I've been healing something that I learned at age 8. I went back in my past and I found something that where somehow, even with amazing loving parents, I figured out that for some reason I had to throw myself under the bus to receive love, that I had to do things to receive love. In fact, I had to do, the more I worked, the harder I worked, the more I sacrificed, the more I would be loved, which is actually untrue. It was a story I've been living out for a while, which affects all my relationships, which affects so many things, which becomes a people pleaser, which puts into effect a lot of ways of not having boundaries in my life. AJ was that guy. AJ had that challenge he was going through. And so I'm very cautious of when I'm doing those kind of things. So I'll catch them, right? And be like, whoa, no, that's okay. What's going on there? But I had to do my own work and deeper work so I have other hypnotherapists I work with to help me see my stuff that I'm not seeing. And also I use a recoding journal, and I help all my clients do this when I'm hearing automatic negative thoughts in my life. And there's a negative energy that goes with that. I stop everything, get my journal out, and I write that down, that statement. And I write down what are the negative emotions that go with that statement. Then I literally cross it out and I say, what do I want to feel and experience instead? Then I rewrite the antithesis of that. So what's the opposite of that statement? What positive emotion or emotions do I want? Write it down. Then I close my eyes and go within. And then I go see my future self experiencing that and having those emotions and do my best to feel that, to recode my future. So that's just a technique, a tactic, as well as with a story for myself, of which I had to overcome. And I've been working through really showing up as a healthy masculine in all my relationships and really being honest and saying things that maybe people don't want to hear, or maybe they don't want to hear it, but it's something I need to be in truth about. Whereas before I would just kind of like change. Does that make sense? Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
And that's something people can do in their journal, right? The ants, right? Automatic negative thoughts, is it?
Negative thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. So the people can do that, in their morning journal entry, right? Like it's tangible, like it's safe.
Tangible, easy, it's safe. And sometimes like it's not necessarily, I journal every morning, I'm doing that. No, it's when it happens. So it's more effective if you keep a journal with you or just have a notepad on your phone or iPad or whatever, and just have that section where it's like quick date, here's the thing, get it out. I'll even use voice notes sometimes so they can come back to it and just like transcribe it in Otter or something. And that way I can just like, oh no, that was okay. Yeah, I keep catching myself. So on average, if we're having 50 or 60,000 thoughts a day and they're all the same stuff over and over again, we're going to keep getting the same results with a little minute changes. But if we start really catching ourselves, those automatic negative thoughts and those emotions coming up, sometimes you don't catch the first time or second time, but the third time you get it. So I've had clients report back to me like 16 different recoding journal entries in one day. And I'm like, good, you're getting it. This is like, we're literally in real life, how you can recode yourself.
And you can say that, I'm not sure if you'd agree with this, maybe it's a little esoteric, but like the ego doesn't want to die, so it will not want you to write that down. So you might just be thinking like, no, it doesn't want it to be written down, because then it's real and then it can, be let go of.
Yeah. Oh, I'll do it later. Oh no, yeah, it's not that important. Yeah. If it's coming up, it's important. So generally just write it down. Even so, it's like, hey, thanks, ego. Nice try. Sit back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
I really like that intentional visualization process that you were talking about, how you started the recoding and then really thinking about where you wanted to go, where you wanted to be. It helps to set some goals up and objectives too, which are like critical. How do you like the spark? How do people, that are just kind of in the rut, stuck, this kind of morose, maybe not even depressed, but just kind of stuck, and they don't even know which direction to go in. They might know what's causing it, what they got to do to correct it, but they don't know what to visualize. They don't know where they want to go. How do you get them, or how do they find within, where's their calling? Where's their power moment? Can it be artificially triggered, or does it have to come from within, and how do we get that lit?
Great, really great questions, guys. I think so. If somebody's not working with me or not working with another professional, let's say a coach or anything right now, and they're listening to this right now, and they may be stuck. Things just aren't quite going their way. I think deep down inside, one, if they start to just go into the silence, I know this is scary to some people, not having the phone on, not having the TV on, literally 5 minutes, starting with 5 minutes and like just quieting. Like, it truly is, if you don't go within, you go without. Meaning, hey, if you want to find out what you're really wanting, there could be just, hey, I want to get my bills paid better. I want to stop living month to month. There's always that want somewhere there. It doesn't have to be a burning desire, all that. And we can talk about impossible goals later. But like right now, sometimes like it's just a basis of like taking a breath and just like starting to love yourself. And it's okay if stuff's not going right. If it's okay to just, shit's not working, and it's okay. It's okay to like be in a place of like just honesty with yourself. But I really just do think it's like, okay, what's desire? Just like thinking about, what do I desire? Like, what's something small that I not want, desire? We don't want to be in a state of wanting, which continues to perpetuate the state of wanting. We want to be like, what's a desire that I'm choosing, and start to list down. You actually have to practice. So it's like it's not just innate. It's if you don't if you don't light the fire, it's going to be a small little pilot light. Start writing down and dreaming and using the imagination, because as we get older, we stop losing the imagination. Oh, you've got to grow up. You can't always be in the imagination world. Well, that's one of our greatest tools ever. Napoleon Hill talked about how important in Think and Grow Rich that imagination is. So start just literally practicing writing down things that would be great to have. Even if you don't believe you can have it right now, just start writing these things down. And a couple of other exercises I have people do is like, don't stop writing goals. Write as many as you can. Write down all the things, because the moment you're thinking them, the universe starts listening to these. But if you're continuing going backwards and thinking the same thoughts, you literally in this present moment are creating the same thing. So you just writing these things down is going to help. New shoes, more money, whatever the things are, and be specific. Get super specific, and you can literally start feeling that little spark coming back. And then if you mix it with, and this is where I do these daily recodings for my clients, to walk them through with my voice, to walk them through the visualization. Some people just don't have the practice or the inherent habit yet. There's some cool ones to listen to on YouTube, though I would be careful on some of the things on YouTube. But there's just like, hey, going within and like starting to create a movie, like you're going to watch a movie, go in your movie theater, create the coolest movie theater up on your screens, just start watching yourself in the future, imagining you having the better clothes, the rent's paid 3 months in advance, all these little things. And if you just wake up every single morning for 5 to 10 minutes, be in silence, no other distractions, first thing you do before you touch the phone, start programming your mind and just seeing in body, being, balance, and business. Body, your physical self; being, your spiritual self, your connection to God; your balance, your relationships, and your business and or career. Just those 4 categories. Create a cool movie in each of them and start watching that movie and almost make it the exact same every day. You keep doing that, you will start to notice things begin to shift and open up for you without really having to do much. So it's a manifestation thing. It's a consistency of controlling our minds.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And do you have your clients stay away from the noise, the radio, the TV, the news, all these other things that are even music? You know, if you're really focusing on manifestation, do you have them keep a clear head in any practices like that, or leave it up to them?
Oh no, I don't try not to leave it up to them.
I was thinking that probably wasn't part of it.
Yeah, no, not at all. I want to help them get as conscious as possible. So that's why I do these cool challenges. Like, the part of the 21-day challenge is you wake up in the morning or at the nighttime, you turn this on airplane mode, off. Now I know I don't have kids and all that. Sometimes people keep it on, but off. You wake up, you do not go give attention outside of yourself to other people's agendas, to emails and all that stuff. No. Stop doing that. 30 minutes, I challenge you to keep the phone off and literally start creating instead of consuming. So waking up and okay, go brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, do basic stuff, but come back and okay, now it's time to journal, go create your movie. Even some mornings I'll just put on my favorite song, dance, get my body moving a little bit, and then sit down, because motion creates emotion. So then sit down and really start to craft that video. Write down again what you want. What are you calling in right now, and keep doing that. So being conscious of that first thing. After that 30 minutes, okay, now you can let the world in. So as opposed to the opposite of just imagine, literally it takes one thought, one text message, one email to throw you into external mode. But if you start practicing staying internal, literally from the moment you wake up, it gets even better. And if you stay in meditation longer than that, oh boy, every morning I'm doing an hour of silent meditation. I've done a brain biofeedback thing in Sedona with Dr. Hart called BioCybernaut. 6 days, 7 hours straight, I'm in meditation, hooked up to a machine in a dark room. You better believe now 2 hours for me meditation is no big deal when you've done that for a whole week. Literally, you don't do anything else. And it's amazing. It's hard for people to understand this, but when you have all the technology shut off and you just go get quiet and silent for an hour, you don't do anything, but then you go back to your email and you go check and it's oh, there's some cool stuff that happened from random people I never even reached out to. I'm getting chills in because it's true. literally like the more you're quiet and silent and not letting the outside world in, it's like just stuff starts coming. I don't know how to explain it.
Wow, talk about burying the lead. Tara, that's one of the things that you've really been intrigued with. I mean, I have to ask before Tara gets in there, your state of mind prior to going in versus your state of mind driving to the airport back home, night and day difference. Can you talk a little bit about that before the 6 days? You said 6 days?
6 days. Yeah. I think we did 6 days straight. So it was training alpha waves. Remember, said beta, which is what we're doing. Then alpha is that beautiful state where fear doesn't exist. And it's like that flow state. It's a very gorgeous state. And real quick, I'll say, before I answer that, most people don't understand that they're literally in a state of hypnosis all day long. Everyone's in a different state of hypnosis all the time. When you wake up in the morning, you're coming out of Delta. And some people are like morning people like me. I jump out of bed. I'm like a golden retriever. I'm very happy. Other people wake up and are like, do not talk to me for like an hour, right? That's okay, Tara. Yeah, it is what it is. Because people take longer to naturally come up through their brain waves and wake up. It's okay. No judgment. People take longer. You don't have to go change that. Just be you. But as we're doing that, like you're always in these constant states. So what we were training was not beta, but alpha. So training meaning I was in a dark room, hooked up to it, literally the real brain, this like on TV, like on movies where they put the real brain cap. It takes like 20 minutes to put it on. Real gel caps, like the real one. I'm not just putting a net on. Like it's a truly high-tech machine. Going in a room, we're getting biofeedback from sound and from looking on a screen, answering questions, and then literally getting this feedback mechanism. And sometimes eyes are closed, but sometimes it's like looking at the screen. And I think it's 2 or 3 hours at a time, and then you get a little break, and then you go back in. And that's what's happening is like every day. Yes, it's in the beginning. Your body has resistance. Like it's like, oh, get me out of here. I want to get out. Tony Robbins did this and said it was one of the hardest things he'd ever done too. After you get over that hump, you're like, oh, I can't wait to be in this stillness. It feels so beautiful. There's a great book called Perfect Brilliant Stillness. It does a great job describing this. Wow. But I'm actually getting excited just talking about it, going to do my meditation later, because it is such a powerful state. We're tapping into things that we aren't taught in the human world.
That's even gamma, right?
Yeah, gamma. Yeah, gamma even higher. I don't usually talk about it just because to keep it simple, but yeah, gamma is even faster.
Is it like 40 years of Zen? Is it similar to that?
40 years of Zen was derived from this.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing.
Very cool. Amazing. It's on my bucket list.
Do it. Hands down, do it. It's a very expensive thing, very big time investment.
Sure.
But if you can do it, do it. It's really incredible. So I'd highly recommend that.
Excellent.
Yeah, great question. Brian, did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you could just tell it's not, you're not a shill. You're not like advertising for them. It's like genuine. When you could see that you kind of just lit up and you were like, yeah, it was a game changer for it. It almost seems like it would be an accelerant too, right? To kind of, it's kind of like a boost to your,
huge accelerant. And I've done it with my wife as well. Really, my wife and I did it, and my friend, I got to appreciate my wife for bringing it to my attention. I had heard of them, but she was like, in our spiritual journeys and all that, she was like, hey, I really, really want to do this. And she pushed it to do this. And she led the charge on that. And then our buddy Kurt went, and super thankful that she brought that up, because afterwards I was like, thank you for bringing that up. That was awesome. And helped me as a coach, as a hypnotherapist, drop in with my clients even easier, to hold the space in the container of a place where they can really relax into those states.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were saying earlier, I mean, we don't have an option to not do the work. I mean, we could, but we'd be lousy hypnotherapists, right?
Yeah, they wouldn't come back, and we wouldn't be good at what we do.
So, I do think that's par for the course. But I'd also at this point grown to love the journey. I want to rewind and talk a little bit about Brian had mentioned, what do people do when they're feeling stuck and they don't know where to go? They don't know that much about this. Maybe they don't trust it that much yet. Or what I find is they think it's not that bad, right? It's not that bad. They've never been traumatized. They didn't have that bad of a life. I don't know about you, but every single one of my clients had a good childhood. And let me tell you, that's not true 100% of the time. So I'm curious if you could speak to that. Like, we're not comparing one's trauma to another, like what you feel is what you feel, and that you can reach out and there are resources for
Yeah.
people, especially for men.
Oh, for sure. I think that's a great topic. Really, this work is for anyone who's not getting the results that they want in their life. Trauma is trauma. This doesn't matter if it's big or it's small. Like my mom and dad were wonderful parents. Not that they're perfect. There's no perfect spectrum here, but like at the same time, middle class, like, money was tight sometimes, all this kind of stuff. But like, even still, they're loving and all that because of TV shows, radio experiences, observing when they would get in fights, maybe stuff like that. All of that can then be filtered into my brain in a negative way, even though my mom and dad didn't mean that, and then become a program of which I'm living on. Even still, I can't, of course, private confidentiality. I had a client who's 56 who is living a lie that we discovered. He didn't realize he was living a lie, but we discovered that like we kept trying to go back to get the root cause of whatever the money issues were. And we couldn't see anything. Nothing was coming up, but yet other topics he could get back to the root cause in a memory that like we could tie to. And we were in this session and he's like, man, it's just darkness. I can't see anything. I go, okay, well, I just want you to imagine a light switch, 3, 2, 1, turn on the light. Turn on the light. He's like, oh my God, I'm in the womb. No wonder I couldn't see anything. He was a baby. He was in his mother's womb. And then he started weeping because he realized his mom and dad were having a fight about money while he was in the womb. And he took it on. He absorbed it because he could hear the vibration. And he lived that for 56 years. So I bring this up because it wasn't a trauma. It was just an overhearing of a conversation that got registered in a certain way. And he took that on, that weight, that financial, oh, no, never receiving. No, and I can't receive because they were fighting about money. Like, that's why this is so important. So it doesn't matter, like, if you're, oh, well, Susie's got huge problems, like huge stuff. I don't need this. No, if you're just not getting the results at all, and there's small things, you never know. So it's great to reach out and at least do an audit or do it. I like to call a subconscious check. I like to look at these different areas and be like, you never know what you don't know. So that's why it's called unconscious. You're literally unconscious of it. Yes. And if we're living our lives out of that, wouldn't you want to turn on the light and discover what might be there? You can't take your car into the shop and say, yeah, go ahead and fix that it's not working, fix it. Or they have to lift up the hood and go into it and figure it out and diagnose it. Same with our brains. We got to go deep inside the hood and everything and figure out what's going on.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I love that.
It is great.
You're doing the work that you're doing. It's amazing.
Thanks. It's so fun.
It is a lot of fun. Definitely.
We transitioned. You said it was a great topic, and each of knows the men out there that maybe don't know how to get started. Do you get? What's the balance here? Because we have a lot of, there's 2024, right? There's a lot going on, underemployment, right? Automation, people losing jobs, right? We know the leaders, maybe the patriarchy is under attack, right? We're evolving as a society, so men's roles are changing, right? There's more equality, and I mean, these aren't necessarily good or bad things. I'm not making judgments, but it's just facts of life, right? And you can't necessarily do what your father and your grandfather and your great-grand-uncle did. We have to change. We have to learn how to code. We have to go to school, right? There's a lot of things. We have to have kids, but we can't afford to have kids. There's a lot of things that men are dealing with in these different challenges, right? And now, historically, men have, there's definitely a reason that the space is a little bit void of men. I think working to help others and then just looking for help themselves, right? So it's a broad generalization, but I mean, anecdotally, I find it to be pretty true. So how do you balance out, open yourself up and allow me to cut these cords and let's go back to when you're a kid and make yourself vulnerable without losing the warrior that evolutionary biology has like built in us, or like, we can handle this, I can power through without your help.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have a couple Red Bulls and close the night off with a whiskey and then do it all again tomorrow because I'm a man and I can handle it and I don't need anyone else's help. So how can we get them to open up and to look for help and to be vulnerable without kind of losing, what makes them, what they perceive to be strong and traditionally, masculine. That's a big one, and it was long-winded, but
Yeah, so if you could just solve
more on that.
humanity's problems for us in the next 30 seconds, please.
Give me 5 minutes. I got this.
Okay.
This is going to be a great podcast. It's going to go nation, worldwide, everything, solve all the problems. No, it's a great question. And it is the question I am currently constantly answering and as best I can. I do work with men. I have men's groups that I work with. I'm honored to have sacred circles where men can hang out. And yeah, men, we're taught we got to be strong. We can't emote. We got to just power through. And we're taught force versus power. Great book, Power versus Force. Awesome read for everybody who needs to read it, especially men. But it's basically like, yeah, we're going to go for it. Yeah, I'm a warrior. I'm tough. I'm a man. Like I can go handle this. Well, that works till it doesn't. It works till it doesn't. And some men got to learn hard way, and just like some women do too. They got to start losing things and feeling pain for them to change. And what I'm doing in the world is doing my best to create containers of men, sacred containers, sort of like the what happens in Vegas stays in kind of Vegas thing where you don't talk about it. It's not the best example, but it's like, no, when there's a tribe of men, when there's a circle of men, what happens or said in that container stays, does not go to the significant other, does not get out of there. It has to be truly sacred. Everyone has to agree every time, because we have to allow men to feel vulnerable. That's it. This comes down to, it is not weak to share and to ask for help. It is actually strong. The positive warrior, as I define it, is here to protect and defend in service to a higher ideal. What does that mean? Whatever that higher ideal is to the man. But to create and hold space for the divine feminine to feel safe to step into that. And with men, the best way, Brian, to answer that is when they see other men crying, emoting, yelling, saying, I'm at my wit's end, guys. I'm done. I need help. And when they see other men emoting and showing that there's like, it's not considered weak. All these guys are like hugging that dude and like pushing him up and holding him up and holding him. It's amazing what can change when men just have no feminine around and they're able to be men and see that, like, the positive warrior. There's different sides of the warrior. There's shadow of everything. There's light of everything. We've got to be able to honor both, but also shine light on the shadow. We got to love the shadow. We got to bring it into the conversation. So these are little higher level answers for you, but I think it's really important that the men listening right now, guys, you do not have to go this alone. You do not have to go and act tough and be macho and be like maybe your dad or whoever else. Like, no. The real true warriors are the ones that are to say, hey, I'm here and I need some help. And you also give help to others. It's beautiful. And if you haven't cried in a while, you need to cry. I have a program coming out that I'm working on called Weeping Warriors. And we need to show that it's okay for men to cry. In fact, it feels really freaking good to cry. And once you get it off your chest, you're then opened up to show up even better as a husband, as a father, as a business partner, as an employee, whatever it is. So this conversation is a really, really good one. And I believe that we've got to get more men, more support everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, the men that I have had as clients, they want to know, like, how can I show up? How can I be a better partner? And I think you really hit the nail on the head, is if your nervous system is regulated, like the feminines will just follow suit.
Yeah.
Right. And so it is so important that you have that time and that space. And so I think, it doesn't have to be like, we can forget the narrative of what's going on in the grand scheme of things. Like, just let's come back to both sides being vulnerable, both sides understanding that we're going through a really tough time right now in recreating ourselves and our identity and dropping into our feminine, healthy masculine. So I absolutely love that.
There's one thing. Can I add another piece here?
Yeah.
This may strike a chord with some guys, and they may not like to hear it, but they got to stop freaking lying to themselves. Stop lying. Stop telling the stories that aren't true, like to self and to others. I was also found myself at certain times lying to myself. Now, I don't consider myself a liar, but this is where this unconscious, unhealthy stuff can come from, where if we're not meditating, we're not going inside, and we're not being the warrior saying, I need help and working with a coach. Every single warrior throughout history had a trainer, had a teacher, had a mentor, someone to help them see their stuff and teach them. Men thinking they can go it alone. No one succeeds alone. This is not that's why we're humans. We have 8 billion of us. We need help. We've got to have that ability to work with other people. So like, stop lying to yourself about how things might be, because that is just taking you further and further away from being a healthy individual. And so do the work, be in the silence, and be okay. Sometimes we need to be called out by our women or women in general, and be like, they can see things that we can't. And we need to be able to receive feedback in a way that doesn't make us go, no, that's not true. So dealing with anger, dealing with rage, 2 of the biggest things that men deal with, and depression and anxiety, all of this stuff. If it's in our body and our system, we begin operating out of a frame or a lens that is not healthy for our families, not healthy for our employees and our team members. And we're showing up as a version of us that's not our authentic self. So it's time to like really start assessing, how the heck am I showing up? And if I'm getting feedback from other people, maybe it's a true thing. It depends on who we're around, but I just want to call that out and kind of open that up as a discussion item.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
totally agree.
I love that. And back to also the emotion, if people think of it, every time we cry and we hold it in, like that energy is in us somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And whether it
Yeah.
manifests as anger, frustration, sadness, depression, we have to encourage people, like you said, especially men, like cry, like do what you need to do to healthily harness. Actually, you can, and I'm sure you maybe have people take their energy and focus it into something, maybe the future, or some transmute it in another way where they're not pushing it down or pushing it onto somebody else.
Yes, exactly. Great point.
Yeah, one of the things that you touched on too, at your own self, like mind, body, spirit, the Trinity is a big thing. We've been talking a lot about mind, spirit. Can you speak to the importance of, a Viking has to be strong, one way or the other, right? So can we talk about that, the body, that third, the body, and how it's not maybe necessarily going to have the long lasting, subconscious effects for long term, but as a release, as a healthy release, as something that you can do on your own a lot of the time without people. You talked about the importance of running, of working out, of consistent physical activity and routine, and how that can kind of translate into making you feel better and, getting you sometimes into kind of a meditative state when you're doing those things. Just the importance of, kind of physical fitness and activity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the ancient, like, deeper meaning of Vikings ties the idea of exploration and expansion in the physical and the spiritual self. So let's first, when we're talking about Vikings, let's understand that the TV shows and all that are great. The Vikings, I love it. It's wonderful, but there's a big Hollywood twist to all of this stuff. And as I started learning more about the true Vikings, the real historians and the data that we actually know, many of those things are missing the mark. These are not dirty, barbaric people all the time that are just raping and pillaging and going around doing that. Was there that? Yes. But back then, all sorts of communities were doing negative things all over the place back then. So it's not just the Vikings. They were very painted in a very dark manner as Christianity was taking over paganism. Vikings didn't write a lot of stuff down. They were busy exploring and expanding and going and doing their thing. Unfortunately, a lot of the Christianity, the bishops and all that wrote a lot of this stuff down, and they had to report why they did lose their gold and why they didn't lose the church to these pagans. But a lot of people don't know that Vikings love to look handsome and look beautiful and do their hair and smell good and have jewels. Like, there is a huge part of Vikings that is not shown out there. And so I just wanted to state that when we're talking about Vikings, kind of keep it more of an open mind. But the Vikings were some of the greatest warriors in a very small amount of time period. They were the ultimate warriors back then. And so when it comes to physically moving your body, staying mobile, moving energy, again, that's going to help us deal with a lot of the stuff that's inside. Now, it doesn't just do everything, because you can see I've seen triathletes, massive, incredible athletes have cancers, have dis-ease in their body. They look outside great, but they're not doing the inner work. They're pushing their bodies to, it's almost like an addiction Like some people like to eat, some people just work out like crazy and they'll build a beautiful body, but if they're not doing the inner work, they're creating dis-ease in their body, which then could become whatever it needs to become. So physical, yes, but again, what I was saying, body, business, balance, and being, those 4 areas, I believe we can have it all. And Vikings were great at balancing these different things. Spirituality was really important to them. If you look at our weeks of the day, did you know that Thursday is Thor's day? Wednesday is Odin's day. Friday is Freya. We have a lot of things in our life that comes from Norse mythology, built into our language, built into our days. There's a lot here to study that we don't have. We have could do a whole nother podcast on the Viking stuff. But there's a lot of ancient wisdom here that we can start applying in this beautiful balance of masculine and feminine that the Vikings had. They had shield maidens, women fighting side by side with men. Women were not, they would run the farm, run the finances, run our agriculture, while men were exploring and doing other things. Women were not subservient. They were doing it because it's their land. They may not own it all, or they may own it with the earl, but it was their responsibility and their love to like let people into their home or not. There's a lot of really amazing things in Vikings to learn from as a modern society. So I hope that touches upon a little bit of what you're asking.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It's the whole package. Like you were saying, it's not just what we see on, in history books, maybe historically, right? From a different perspective, when the guy's little church is getting razed to the ground in the Scottish, shore or something. And he's the only one writing the story, he's not going to paint them in a good light. And that's what we read here in America. Yeah, it's fascinating though. It's really fascinating.
I was going to ask about the warrior program that you have and what's in store. You have amazing videography on your Instagram, so everybody definitely go there because it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
So the video speaks for itself, but could you share some of that with our listeners?
Yeah, it's at awakentheviking.com, and I call it the Viking Initiation. What I did was I've been to a lot of masterminds. I've paid a lot of money to go to these events all around the world. And I decided to create one of my own. It's not a mastermind. It's an adventure. 8 days, 8 nights, 4 men and women. And we go deep into the ancient culture of the Vikings in Norway, surrounded by beautiful fjords with waterfalls all over the place. And we go and row Viking ships. We put on the Viking clothes. We learn how to cook. We learn how to axe throw. We learn how to sew and do all these Viking things and get our hands dirty. We also do hot seat coaching. We do meditations in caves. We go do cold plunging in the fjord and then getting in the sauna right there in this beautiful place. It's a digital detox, and it helps people get them out of their bodies and out of their minds and out of their stress to where we can identify and learn from the different experts that I have, and also a lot of the work that I do to help people get in their body and understand through initiation who they want to become. And that part of initiation is a letting go and a shedding of the old self, and then stepping into a new version of us, whether it's boys becoming men, girls becoming women, or just us as individuals stepping into the next chapter. It is initiation. And so because it's missing from a lot of our society, I wanted to bring that back in a really, really fun way. It's the most fun I've ever had, and which is why I created an event that I would pay money to go to. And so we've crafted something very unique that allows people to have a peak experience, to have a completely different perspective, letting go of stress, and really identifying what does this next chapter in their life look like. Maybe they've become successful in one area of life, but okay, how do I want to give back? How do I want to make impact? What am I really here to do? Because a lot of people make money, go pay the bills, go have the mortgage, have the kids, do all this, and they're like, something's missing inside. Part of that is figuring out what their dharma is. What are they meant to do here in this life? What's that impact? And so it gives you space and relaxation and prompts to think of your life a little bit differently. And we go back to ancient wisdom to do that and supply people that information. And so that's a high level version of what it is.
That sounds amazing. Yes, I will. I will be there.
It's going to be so fun.
I really love that fun, right? So one of the things like Brian and I try to do is like bring a little humor into some of the heavier stuff, right? Like,
Yes.
yes, there's going to be tears, there's going to be sadness, there's going to be emotion, but it doesn't have to be so heavy all the time. So I love that you're incorporating like it can be fun.
Tara, you said exactly. We were like, I'm so glad we met, because that's just it. There's a lot of stuff out there. And I see a lot of ads for things like people are weeping and crying. And that's great, because that is a good part of it.
Yeah.
But like, I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I don't want to do that. That looks effing horrible. They're like, no.
Right.
It like, that's just it, is doing the work can be difficult. It can be hard, but it doesn't have to be so like heavy. We can go have fun and do it in other ways. And there's going to be moments of heaviness where we get to release it. But when you're around other people, smaller tribes of people that are doing the same thing, you start to get more comfortable with the uncomfortableness. So it's like, oh, that person's crying. Good. That's awesome. Like, you cheer each other on. I need to cry today. What am I going to cry about today? You know, or let me go let out a huge warrior scream. One of the things we did, which is cool, the captain of so we learned how to literally go row a Viking ship together in the fjords where Vikings lived and did all this. We took a boat, each of the men had the boat, and then the women had their separate. We separated the masculine and feminine for a whole day. And they paddled us out to the middle of the fjord. And he said, okay, guys, put the oars back in. I want you to all do one thing for me. I want you to be in silence, meditate a little bit. And on the count of 3, at the top of all your lungs, when we say 3, everyone's going to scream the word Odin, like the god Odin, Odin, like really loud. There's a 1, 2, and all the men gave out a warrior cry of Odin. And we heard it and just yelled as long and hard as we could. And you hear in the fjords, you wait, you all get silent after that. And it sounds like an army of Vikings yelling back at you. I'm getting chills again because it was incredible. We're all sitting like, yeah, like we're feeling ourselves with this beautiful energy, but like you're just feeling like you're calling upon Odin, and all the warriors in Valhalla are yelling back at you. We did it again, and we did it again. And sometimes you just have to get it out. The women did it to Freya, and the women had the same thing. An army of women, the Valkyries, like yelling back. So cool. So it's like, it doesn't have to be all that bad. It could be really, really fun. And then you start to celebrate your wins and your cries and all that. And then you're really on that momentum of like, okay, universe, bring it on. I'm going to clear all this Shakti, all the river in here. And once you're flowing, you're unstoppable.
Yes, absolutely. 2 more questions from me.
Yeah.
One, you mentioned a book already about, I think Michael Singer, we talked about.
Yeah.
But can you give another book to our audience that was really inspirational to you, really helpful for you on your journey, maybe early on, maybe recently? Up to you.
I think all of Michael Singer's books are great. They're fantastic books. Living Untethered is one of my favorite of his. Then I think it is a fantastic book around manifestation, as we're talking about that, and not just wealth, but wealth consciousness, not just money. It's called A Happy Pocket Full of Money. Happy Pocket Full of Money by David, starts with a G. But Happy Pocket Full of Money. It's great on audiobook. It's great on the other one. It doesn't even really talk about money, because it's not about money. It's about the wealth consciousness we're building.
Yeah.
So it's a great one to listen to. And here's the thing. Everybody is listening, listen to it at least 5 times. This is not I'm just going to read this book. No. You keep listening it. You keep listening it. You keep reading it. It's that important. Another great one, I think, is The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. It's been I read it almost every year. The One Thing. It's about focusing your power, focusing your energy, focusing yourself. And it's a productivity book, but it's not just like about business. It's about like literally our life. We need to really focus and hone in on the things that we're thinking and doing. And so it's a great, easy read. So I think those 3 are really great recommendations for now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And then lastly, I'm a yogi. A lot of women do yoga. It's okay. It's safe to be in our body. It's safe to, hold our heart. How do you get men into their body? How do you explain to them that they're usually living in their head and not their heart, in a way that they can understand?
Yeah. 1, get them outside. 2, do stuff. Like, It can be a mobility, but like primal movement is great. Like animal flow is really great. Doing it outside, getting your feet on the floor, like on the ground. Primal movements, outdoor like calisthenic activities, wrestling, just like getting active, paddleboarding. Quick story. A lot of people won't believe this, but there's about 26 of my boys and we have a group called the Mountain Kings, and every year we go down 80 miles in about 4 days down a river in Idaho, and we are on three class rapids, sometimes 3-5 around that big, on stand-up paddleboards.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Going through rapids in nature, no cell phone service. We're just in nature. So going and doing trips that push the edge. Another great book for men is the one that talks about pushing the edge is by David Data. It is, oh gosh, come on. On a podcast, and I forgot the name of it. The Way of the Superior Man.
Oh,
The Way of the
yeah,
Superior Man, David Data. Great book for women to read.
Yeah.
100%.
I learned a
Both
lot.
should read this. It's great. Women were like, oh, now I see. Great book. But it pushes the edge. And we're not talking about doing unsafe things. We're talking about pushing the edge and being outdoors with brotherhood. So finding brothers, if there's men that they're like, dude, I don't want to go to a men's group, or I don't even know where to start, reach out to me. My information is going to be on here. Just reach out to me. If you're a guy, you're like, look, I just like to talk. Cool. I'm not here to sell anything to anybody, but like if I can get men connected with other good men I know around the country, or they want to join a group that can help bring them in and it's all like remote, fine. But like just I want men to just be okay reaching out and just be like, hey, yeah, I'd like some help. Let's just have a conversation. But that's it. Get outside, move the body.
Love it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Excellent answer. And it kind of took away from but I can continue with one of the two questions I have from that. I do have a curiosity about different places, and the energy and the attraction that they have to people spiritually, like an energy, but also just getting outside into the outdoors. So it's a little two-parter. You can have the retreat out near a fort, out kind of, Norway's a huge country. You can't really have it in downtown Oslo, right? So you can go, connect with your boys down the rapids, Colorado River, Snake River, wherever you went. You can do it at Bryce Canyon or somewhere. You can't do it in the middle of Salt Lake City, right? So what is it about, what's special about kind of getting away from the urban area and the density and the noise and the sound and the light pollution, and why is that so important to drive away from civilization a bit?
Yeah, because it's our natural state where it's built into our DNA, right? So I don't know about you guys. So I live up in Eden, Utah. I live by Powder Mountain. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous area. I'm out of the city. I used to live in cities all my life. Once I moved here, so we built the house up here on the mountains, like 7 minutes from the lifts. So snowboarding is really, really great. But like just all the rest of the year, literally your body starts within days, even when people are out of the city. And I'm talking out of the city, not on the outskirts, like get out of the city, you will notice a profound difference. You can't not notice a difference. There's no one has come out here and be like, oh yeah, I feel the same. No, they're like, wow, I slept better. I feel less stressed. Like, what's going on? It's like, well, here's what's going on. Your body's able to calm down because it doesn't have so much Wi-Fi and energy coming at you. Your body's just on high alert, and everybody's in one area. So all of their stuff, all their ores, all their radiation, all their stuff is like all congested in one area. You separate from that, you start connecting to your higher self. You start to connecting better you're always connected to your higher self, but like you're connecting better to the universe, and your DNA, your programming, your coding inside is able to like unlock more. And the more you do that, the more it's like, so I love to travel and all that, but now I can go into a city for maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks with all my shields up. And then I'm like, I'm ready to get out of here. So cities are great and all, but the kind of work we need to do, and that's where I say, like, hey, if you're not even with a men's group, go journal, go meditate, go get an Airbnb by yourself in a log cabin, just get away. Turn off the Wi-Fi. Start sleeping with Wi-Fi off. Many times in my house, I will turn off the Wi-Fi at night. Turn off all the power. Some people even literally turn off the power breaker every night just so that you're not sleeping in it. Try that. Try that for a week and see how much better you sleep. It's incredible. So let's get away from that kind of stuff. And that's why we're meant to be in nature. We were built out there, not to be in cities.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll add two
Sure, go ahead.
cents really
Yeah.
quick. I spent a month in a cabin in the woods. My body was like vibrating. It felt so good, but like after the first 4 days, it was like so insane, like that purest I've ever felt. And then I came home. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
as you do this work, you can only tolerate so much, going
Mhm.
back into the noise. So yeah, no, definitely we're saying it every episode, people get out in nature, right?
Yeah.
Connect with nature,
Yeah.
go back to,
Every day. The Vikings call it utaseta. Utaseta. So utaseta is part of a grounding technique, going outdoors, grounding yourself, thinking about your energy, thinking about your future. Utaseta is a there's different terms. I'm simplifying it, but it's like every day, just going connecting with nature, even for a little bit, just to ground yourself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Another, no more Viking wisdom. Yeah, one last one. I find that, this is a good question for people that travel and on the move, whether it's for business, pleasure. What do you need to do? It gives us an idea of a priority and something that I think it'll resonate because it's important. What are one or two things that you have to do no matter where you are when you're on the move as part of your routine? Is it jotting something down in a journal? Is it definitely getting a meditation in? Is it getting a run in? Is there something that no matter where you are, the day to stay balanced and to feel like something's really not missing, Aaron must do when he's out and about, and he just has to be consistent with?
Great question. I call them my non-negotiables. So it's not like the routine is so structured. I'm not that structured where I have to have my exact routine. My non-negotiables though, I've got to do. So the non-negotiables are: one, keeping the phone on, do not disturb. I'm up to 30 minutes to 2 hours sometimes in the morning with it off. So and now it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm like speaking at an event or something, I've got to turn on and connect with the people. But I still give myself like that 15, 30 minutes as much as I can in the morning. So one, keeping that off. Two, at least 1 hour of meditation, silence. Three, I'll do my recodes in the morning. So my own personal, whatever I'm trying to whatever I'm looking to achieve or recode in my life, after my silent meditation, or sometimes before, I'll listen to my 15 or 20 minute with my own voice, like I'm listening to it to program myself. And then is movement, like some mobility. Like my hips can get tight really easy, especially after traveling. Move the body, do something. So when I'm traveling, I got to really move. Then I can go get my work, my stuff done. Those are my non-negotiables.
Excellent. Well, Aaron, it's been such a pleasure. You're speaking my language, and I hope more people start to. So thank you for the good work that you do, and I will definitely be on that trip. Well, I don't know if it's going to be the next one, but I would love to. I'd love to enter your world of healing and evolution and growth.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
This has been a pleasure. We've learned a lot. I think there's been a ton of gems out there for our audience to listen to. Again, we've been talking with coach and hypnotherapist Aaron James Yeager. Aaron, where can people track you down online, get all those really catchy, impactful videos? Photographer. Props to him or her, because she's got a good eye. There's a lot of great stuff out there. Where can they find you online? Where can they connect with you, and what will they expect when they find you?
Yeah, so great question. So my main site is ajyager.com, AJYAGER.com. And then my Viking event is at awakentheviking.com. Either place you can contact me. Both of those websites have my Instagrams and my socials. But I think those are the two best places to go find me, learn about the Viking event, learn about my coaching. And I'm very easy to get a hold of on those. So anything that you're, whether it's email or on social, message me and I respond. I'm really good about that. And I'd love to encourage people to ask questions, and I can ask questions without even getting on a call if we need to. But if they want to really explore this, I have a 30-minute complimentary session they can get on with me, and we can start to audit their unconscious mind and really start to evaluate where they may be. So that's complimentary. You can just do it on my website, ajyager.com.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Again, that was so much fun.
Been a pleasure. Great meeting you. Let's do it again.
Will do. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Journey to Your Best Self podcast. We appreciate you being part of this community. For more resources, insights, and ways to connect, head over to youroneself.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and Overcast.
Your support means the world to us. Until next time, keep aligning your mind, body, and spirit, and peace, love, and self-discovery.